Okay, so picture this. A prison so famously brutal, so completely locked down, that escaping isn't just hard, it's considered flat out impossible. But what if I told you that 6 men, with basically nothing but a butter knife and a whole lot of desperation, decided to prove the entire world wrong? Well, this is that story, and it's one of the most unbelievable prison breaks you'll ever hear about.
We're talking about a really, really nasty Mexican prison back in the 1970s. And you gotta understand, this wasn't someplace with rules and guards keeping order. No, it was more like a lawless, overcrowded jungle run by the inmates themselves. Every single day was just a fight to survive. And any hope you had for the future? Yeah, that was gone the second you stepped inside those gates.
But, against all odds, that's exactly what happened. 6 Americans, staring down decades behind bars, pulled off the unthinkable. They didn't try to go over the walls. They didn't try to fight their way through the guards. Nope, they went under. They literally tunneled their way to freedom.
So the big question is, how on earth did they do it? I mean, how does a plan this absolutely insane even get off the ground, let alone actually work? It's a story of some serious ingenuity, a ton of unbelievable luck, and a journey through, well, literal filth. And you want to know the most surprising part?
This whole life-or-death, insane escape story, it didn't start with a big crime or some master plan. It all started with a simple vacation that went completely, horribly wrong. Just a few small, unlucky moments that spiraled into something nobody could have ever imagined.
So let's rewind. It's 1972, and you've got 3 American buddies, Mike, Stanley, and Paul, and they are living the dream. They're on their boat, sailing down from California to the beaches of Mazatlan, Mexico. Just a perfect vacation.
But then, bam, the dream trip hits a wall. The engine on their cheap, secondhand boat just gives out. It dies. Now they're stranded in Mexico. And the total amount of money they have between the 3 of them? A measly $300. You are not fixing a boat engine with that. So they're desperate for cash, right? And they come up with what they think is his brilliant, low-risk plan. They figure out that marijuana is about 10 times cheaper in Mexico than it is back home. So the idea seems simple enough. Use their $300, buy a little bit, pop back to the US to sell it, and boom, instant profit. Fix the boat, get back to vacationing. Seemed foolproof. What could possibly go wrong?
And this is exactly where everything starts to go sideways. It all comes down to a simple communication gap. See, they spoke English, their dealer spoke Spanish, and that led to a pretty big misunderstanding. They asked for a small amount, but for their $300, they walked away with 10 kilos of marijuana. Way, way more than they ever wanted.
So now their boat is officially dead in the water, and they are seriously stuck. But then, it seems like their luck is turning around. They meet these 2 other American guys, a couple of brothers named Frank and Don. And what do you know? They have their own boat, and they offer the guys a ride back to the States.
Well, once they're all out on the open ocean, the brothers let them in on a little secret. They aren't just tourists. Oh no. They're professional smugglers. And the little 10 kilos the friends have? That's nothing. Turns out, the boat is loaded down with a literal ton of marijuana. They offer the trio $10,000 to help unload it stateside and, well, seeing those dollar signs, the friends say yes.
7 days later, in the middle of the night, crunch! The boat hits something and sinks fast. Now the good news is, they all survive. They wash up on some remote Mexican beach. The bad news? The tide didn't just bring them ashore, it also brought all the evidence. The entire beach is just littered with hundreds and hundreds of packages of marijuana.
As you can imagine, the police find them pretty quickly. And you have to remember, this is 1970s Mexico. For Americans caught with drugs, due process wasn't exactly a top priority. They're forced to sign these confessions, all written in Spanish that they can't even read. And the sentence? A mind-boggling 25 years.
So, inside this prison from hell, it sinks in pretty quick. There is no way they're going to survive 25 years in there. The only path to survival is getting out. And, of all things, they get inspired by a movie, The Great Escape, where POWs tunnel out of a Nazi camp. They decide, hey, we can do that.
Let me tell you, their plan was just ridiculously ambitious. They weren't just digging one tunnel. They had to dig 2. First, they had to somehow break through the concrete floor of their own cell. Then, dig under a massive inner wall, pop up in a guarded no man's land, and then dig a whole second tunnel under the final outer wall. All of this with tools they made themselves.
For 6 solid weeks, they chip and they chip
and they chip away at that concrete floor. They work in shifts, they have lookouts, and finally they break through. But that feeling of victory lasts for about 2 seconds, because beneath the concrete, there's nothing but watery, soupy mud. It's totally impossible to dig through. Defeated, they just seal up the hole. The plan is dead.
5 long, miserable months of despair go by. They've totally given up. And then, the most bizarre stroke of luck you can imagine. A main water pipe inside the prison breaks, and the water for the entire place gets shut off for days. And that's when a light bulb goes off for Mike. He thinks, wait a minute, what if that pipe was the whole reason our tunnel was flooded? So they frantically reopen the hole they'd sealed up, they look down, and it's bone dry. Just like that, the impossible plan is miraculously back on.
But, of course, their luck doesn't last. While they're digging, one of them accidentally smashes right into a live sewer pipe. The tunnel floods immediately, but this time, it's not water. It's raw, disgusting sewage. The stench is just overpowering, and it's threatening to give the whole operation away. And you can bet absolutely nobody is raising their hand to go down there and fix it.
So out of pure desperation, they decide they need to bring in a 6th guy. They find another American inmate, a guy named Benny. They show him the tunnel and make him probably the worst job offer in history. Hey, if you're willing to wade into that filth and seal that pipe, we'll take you with us. After thinking it over, Benny agrees.
With the pipe sealed and their crew now 6 strong, they become a relentless digging machine. I mean, they'd already lost 5 months to bad luck and giving up, so they had to make up for lost time. The team of 6 starts working in shifts, around the clock, digging for up to 18 hours every single day, just pushing and pushing towards that outer wall. Finally, after months of back-breaking, filthy work, they are right there, just inches away from the surface, right outside the prison's final wall. They've already arranged for getaway cars through their old smuggling contacts. The night of the escape has finally arrived. But those final hours are unbelievably tense. A huge rainstorm hits and almost causes the tunnel to cave in, which would have buried them alive. But at 2 in the morning, they finally break through to the surface. And here's the genius part. They had been wearing their digging clothes inside out, so they just flip them right side out, revealing clean clothes underneath. They walk away from the prison, just blending in. After a heart-stopping moment where their getaway car isn't there, they race to a backup spot and finally pile into their ride to freedom.
And the ending, it's almost too simple to believe. The original 3 friends, Mike, Stanley, and Paul, they still had their American passports from their vacation. So they just drove to the border, walked up to the guards, and crossed back into the United States, legally. And just like that, they vanished, never caught.
It's just such an incredible story. It really makes you wonder, right? Was their escape this masterclass in brilliant planning and ingenuity, or was it just the result of pure, raw desperation? I guess, when your only other choice is to rot in a cell for 25 years, maybe the impossible starts to look a whole lot more achievable.